She was only 14. She ran barefoot, bleeding, and terrified through a quiet suburban street. When a stranger opened their door, they thought she was just a runaway. But what she said next would uncover one of the most chilling child trafficking rings ever discovered in America, hidden in plain sight. It happened in Lincoln, Nebraska, a place that prides itself on being safe, family-friendly, and tightly knit. But on March 19th, at exactly 2:17 a.m., a 911 call came in from a couple living on the east side of town. The voice on the line was frantic. "There's a girl on our porch. She says she's been kidnapped." When officers arrived, they found 14-year-old Sophie, not her real name, shivering, barefoot, and covered in bruises. At first, they assumed it was a domestic situation, maybe a runaway fleeing a violent home. But Sophie said something that stopped the officers in their tracks. "They're still in the basement. The other kids, they never let them out." Sophie wasn't just escaping an abusive adult. She was escaping a highly organized, multi-person trafficking ring that had operated for nearly a decade, with roots stretching far beyond Nebraska. And Sophie wasn't the only victim. Asterisk, she didn't just name one abuser. She named 12. What investigators discovered in the days following Sophie's escape would leave the town and the nation reeling. Sophie led detectives to a home just 2 blocks from where she was found. It looked ordinary, a well-kept lawn, a basketball hoop in the driveway. But beneath that surface was something far more sinister. Inside the basement were 2 children, a boy 6, a girl 9, malnourished, barely conscious. Sophie identified them immediately. She had been held with them before being moved. Police soon learned the home belonged to a woman known as Mama B, real name Brenda Coulter, a seemingly sweet, middle-aged foster care volunteer with connections to a local church. But Brenda wasn't acting alone. Through phone records, police uncovered ties to a man running an unlicensed daycare. That man had previously worked with youth programs and had a sealed juvenile record involving child exploitation. And there was more. A pastor who had sponsored at-risk teens and helped reintegrate youth from juvenile detention centers. One of those teens had gone missing in 2019. Her name, Layla Hensley. She was never found. According to Sophie, Layla was one of the first girls they ever brought into the house. It wasn't a gang. It was a business. The group had an entire infrastructure. A woman who made fake documents, a man who arranged transportation. Between cities' online advertisements disguised as tutoring or babysitting services, this ring operated under a chillingly efficient system. Lure, isolate, control, and sell. Sophie drew a map with 3 homes circled. Police would find children in every single one. Armed with Sophie's map, police executed search warrants on 3 additional properties, all connected to Mama B's network. What they found shocked even veteran detectives. A T1 home. 3 children under the age of 10 were found locked. Inside a windowless room, sedated. At another location, they found a locked closet with a small mattress on the floor and a bucket. Inside was a 7-year-old boy, terrified and unable to speak. But perhaps the most disturbing scene was at a rural property just outside the city. A large shed converted into what police later described as a holding station. In it, they found crates of children's clothes, disposable phones labeled manila folders with Polaroids, each tagged with a name, age, and disturbingly, a price. Investigators recovered over 60 photographs. Some of the children had already been rescued. Others had been reported missing, some as far back as 5 years ago, and several were still unaccounted for. Sophie's testimony was eerily accurate. Her descriptions of the homes, the rooms, the captors, all verified. But she remembered one name most clearly, a man who worked inside Child Protective Services. The man Sophie named was Charles Irwin, a mid-level CPS caseworker with over 12 years of experience, known for being kind and helpful. But behind closed doors, he was feeding vulnerable children directly into the ring that he wasn't just ignoring. Reports, he was altering them. Documents showed he closed abuse reports without visiting the children, marked others as unable to locate, and even wrote false statements from children allegedly denying abuse, statements those children never saw. When authorities raided his home, they found flash drives containing photos of children and CPS custody notes about their personalities. Details on which kids had no family connections. He didn't just know which kids were vulnerable. He helped make them disappear. Further investigation revealed the trafficking operation wasn't limited to Nebraska. Connections were found in Des Moines, Iowa, Transport Hub, Chicago, Illinois, where some children were sold into private adoption rings, Detroit, Michigan, where girls were forced into street-level trafficking. The money was laundered through vending machine businesses, shell nonprofits, and even a religious charity. To the heart of it, Mama Beat, she oversaw the movement of children like they were inventory. Always smiling, always polite. Behind her suburban home's closed doors, she orchestrated a nightmare. But the most horrifying evidence was still to come, found in a dusty storage unit outside town. The lead came from a small receipt found inside Brenda Coulter's minivan, a rental storage facility just 10 minutes outside of Lincoln. What police found inside that unit would redefine the case. Dozens of crates, stacks of legal folders, trash, bags filled with children's clothing, shoes, and even toys, many still tagged from discount stores. But one crate was different. It contained old camcorders, VHS tapes, and memory cards. When authorities reviewed the content, what they saw turned a trafficking investigation into something far darker. There were recordings, dozens of them. Some appeared to be surveillance footage of children inside the network's homes. Others were interviews, staged as intake videos, documenting when a child was first brought in. Each file was labeled with a code, age, gender, and what detectives believed were price categories. But perhaps the most disturbing of all were several files showing training sessions. Grown adults were being coached on how to manipulate children, control behavior through isolation, and speak in ways that disoriented victims. It was cult-like, systematic, industrial. One face in the videos shocked everyone: a local therapist who treated court-assigned foster kids. The case exploded nationally. Over 26 people were indicted in the first wave of charges. Among them, Brenda Mama B. Coulter, Charles Irwin of CPS 3 church officials, 2 daycare workers, a foster agency coordinator, and yes, a licensed child therapist who had seen over 80 kids through the juvenile court system. Sophie testified for 4 days. She identified locations, timelines, names, and specific details that matched the evidence. Her courage and the files from the storage unit were the backbone of the prosecution. It was the largest child trafficking case in Nebraska history, and one of the largest in the Midwest. 15 people took plea deals. 8 went to trial. 5 were convicted on all counts. Sentences ranged from 15 years to life without parole. But even as verdicts came down, over a dozen children were still missing. Sophie entered witness protection at 15. She spent years in therapy, private schooling, and later worked with nonprofits focused on child exploitation prevention. But recovery was not easy. She suffered from severe PTSD, nightmares, and dissociative episodes. She once said in an interview, "They stole years from me, but I won't let them steal what I have left." She helped identify 3 more children who had changed names and locations. Thanks to her, those kids were found and removed from abusive placements. In 2024, Sophie, now 19, testified anonymously before Congress, urging reforms to CPS and foster placement checks. Her speech went viral. She is alive, and she's fighting. But she left the courtroom with one final message, one that still haunts investigators. Sophie's message was simple: there are more, and they know how to hide. Despite dozens of arrests, convictions, and rescues, several children remained missing. Some may never be found. The network spanned multiple states. It had money, logistics, enablers in government, and an entire system designed to silence victims. And worst of all, many of those charged had no criminal history, no red flags. They were teachers, pastors, neighbors, therapists. This ring was hidden in plain sight, and had Sophie never escaped, it might still be operating today. If you suspect child abuse or trafficking, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text HELP to 233733. Because the next child might not get the chance Sophie did.
What did you think of the case? Please share your thoughts in the comment below. If you want more video like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more true crime videos. See you in the next one.